topics again, but this is a fun topic, and we don't have to stick strictly with it. But it's simple. Uh, I argue that most superhero fans don't actually read the comics, and it's obvious from the comments that they often put on social media, including on some of my videos. So until that kicks off and people want to discuss that, I'm just going to watch some superhero themed stuff on YouTube. All right. Alrighty then. Got some water. Check. Ice in it. Very important. Check. Because it's hot. Check. 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 And to kick it off, since people act like I don't know what I'm talking about, um, start with which one I want to start with. Um, Boom. People act like I know what I was talking about the last 2 days. I've done something new for this fight.
You need to get those people to safety.
Sorry, gotta let the ad play. I, I'm not. I might get. I did enjoy premium, but when I have some money, I'll get premium. I had 6 months of it. It was pretty cool.
Nerdrotic.com.
I'll turn this down just a tad.
Spider-Man Brand New Day. Everybody thought it was going to be big. Everybody thought it was going to make $1 billion. I thought the first couple of trailers were okay, right? And then that one trailer got me. And what got me about that one, the second to last one, it was the fight scene where he's against the Scorpion, smashes the cop car, and just immediately goes, "Oh shit!" And it showed like, oh my god, this is heroism, and we're gonna do heroism in a superhero movie. And then the costume looked great. Peter Parker is pretty much on his own, pretty much, not all the way. Got a little help still, but I'm like, okay, I'm down. I'm gonna be mildly excited about this movie. Why not? I'm not afraid to get hurt. You hear me, Az? I'm not afraid to get hurt. My pain defines me. Then the retrospective trailer came out. It's like, Zendaya. Put a pin in Zendaya for a minute. Oh, not literally, in the topic of Zendaya. And I'm like, okay, I want this to be good. I want a good Spider-Man movie. Listen, no secret, pretty big Spider-Man fan my entire life. He was my first real favorite superhero. I was introduced to Spider-Man through the Electric Company when he'd walk around doing nothing except for thought bubbles, and it's supposed to teach you how to read. My very first comic, Marvel Team Up number 42, was a Spider-Man comic. He teamed up with Vision. They were in the 1500s fighting an evil pilgrim and Dr.
Was Spider-Man and Vision? I never heard of that comic.
Scarlet Witch. In a two-parter.
That sounds cool.
Great comic book, by the way. Everybody remembers their first comic book.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the collecting started. I don't want to tell you how crazy that is. I mean, owning full runs of every Spider-Man title that exists. Yes, I said runs. And very happy that they put the AF-15 cover in the book. I was talking to Flash about that. He's like, yeah, our value's going up. It's like, yeah, baby. Yeah, it is. My son was raised in a comic shop. I mean, could you think of anything cooler? But like, he has no fucking idea how cool that is. Yeah, he does. So he grew up a big Spider-Man fan. He loved Spectacular Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's one of the best everyman characters ever created. Coolest costume, most relatable. Everybody loves Peter Parker. He gets shit on so much and still remains a good dude until Marvel Comics fucked him up later. You know the story. So yes, fan man goggles on a bit. Absolutely. I said it in my video. I'll say it now. With no shame whatsoever. So yeah, so the movie drops. Now they have fan screenings, the Fandango fan screenings. I think they expanded them to 2 that night. So there was a 7 and a 10, which is a lot. And they expanded the Thursday previews to noon. So Thursday's just a fucking opening day. It's not a preview anymore. It's an opening day. And they'll expand it to 10 a.m. by the end of the year, probably. And I am looking forward to the 7-day opening weekend. I want that to happen. How about just releasing a movie when it's ready? Like, it's ready, go. Like I do a video. Like, it's ready, go. So I'm looking forward to the 7-day opening weekend. But there was chatter of it making upwards of $800 and $900 million from some sites, and we're like, that's fucking nuts. That's crazy. No, they were right. Oh, they were wrong because they underestimated. So last night it was estimated that it made $355 million domestically, which would make it, without adjusting for inflation.
He's
and listen,
mentioning
I am an
First
inflation
Comics,
bro, so this
and
does matter.
most people
But
remember their first
they're saying
comics.
it beat
I remember my
Avengers
first
Endgame
comic,
at
although I had to look up the
$360
name
million,
because it's been
biggest-
so long
biggest
and I haven't
opening
seen the
in
character
box office history,
anymore.
and we haven't had
It was called
the
Top
international
Dog.
estimates updated or
The first
confirmed
comics
yet.
I used to
But
read
right
was
now
Top
it's sitting
Dog
at
and Spider-Ham.
$930-something
Not
million
Spider-Man.
for
I
its
came
opening
into the
weekend, almost $1
I came into
billion.
liking Spider-Man through Spider-Ham, which was
Saturday, I believe it had already
anthropomorphic
had already
pig
outgrossed
version
the
of
entirety
Spider-Man.
of the DCU.
where the character is called Peter Porker instead of Peter Parker, and then his superhero alias was Spider-Ham. That and Top Dog were my first 2 comic books. I used to get those all the time when my dad used to take me to Virginia out to Rockfish. Our family hails,
the international
my
audience that James Gunn was trying
grandfather's
to
side of the family hail from this small
in the
area in
American
Virginia
way,
called
and
Rockfish.
still didn't fucking matter.
And
Yeah, I remember. Remember everybody
we used to go
telling
out
us this is
there,
a runaway
you
hit,
know,
and it made
and just
$3.2
head out in the
trillion
country
in
house,
VOD and merchandising sales and all
go
that
fishing,
bullshit.
meet
This
other
is what a
family
hit looks
members
like.
that used to live
For
there.
a
Most of our
superhero,
family
this is a
members have
hit.
moved out of that
And
area
Beavers
now,
have 2 massive
or the
hits on
older
their
ones
hands
have
right now.
died.
Massive hits.
But there's
I
still
like
a
one
few
a
like
lot better than the
extended
other.
cousins
I'll say
down
that.
there that I met 4 years
Well,
ago,
the other one
which is the
I
last
still
time I've
like,
been there.
and I like this.
And
Is
I remember, like,
Spider-Man more
you know,
powerful than
we would
all
go
of
to the
Avengers
convenience store. He
combined?
would buy
I
me
will
like a
answer
fried
this
chicken
question,
sandwich,
yes. Fake
like
Wizard said it on
a couple
FNG
of
last
comic
week.
books,
Couldn't agree
and then
more.
we would head
I'm
out
just interested
to
in
go
Spider-Man
fishing.
movies. And guess what? The general public is.
And so
the
yeah, I remember
normies
those were
are.
my
'Cause
first
this-
comic books. Top Dog
I started using
and
the term
Spider-Ham,
normies as
which
it
led
relates
me
to
later into
AA.
Spider-Man.
So my brothers and sisters in AA in the chat, you know what I'm talking about. So we in AA call the people who can drink, go out there and live your life normally, normies. That's where I got the term from. That's the term for alcoholics, talking about the general public, the guy who could drink half a beer and leave it on the counter and walk away. That's a normie. And it's not a derogatory term at all. So normies for film are, they make the world go round. Always said that, they always will. And you don't know which way they're going to go all the time because they're not dialed into this shit every day like we are. And they'll like what they like and they won't like what they won't like. Normies love Avatar. Normies love Avatar. I can't explain it. I don't get it. It doesn't compute in my head in any way, shape, or form. I have accepted it.
Wait, you
And-
said what? Let me run that back.
All the time because they're not dialed into this shit every day like we are. And they'll like what they like and they won't like what they won't like. Normies love Avatar. Normies love Avatar.
Ugh,
I can't explain it. I don't get it. It doesn't compute in my head in any way, shape, or form. I have accepted it. And the Avatar movies are ass.
Yes, they are.
They're anti-human fucking pro Green Party environmentalism, anti-colonist bullshit. That's what they are. And pro-colonists, by the way. So normies make the world go round. And normies love Spider-Man. They love Spider-Man. So is Spider-Man more powerful than all of the Avengers, particularly the Avengers in Avengers Doomsday? I think we should put that asterisk in there. Is Spider-Man more powerful than Yelena and Sam Wilson
Yes.
playing, borrowing a Captain America costume, or Ghost, or even our beloved John Walker, who did nothing wrong? Ant-Man? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. All day long. There's certainly a case to be made after Spider-Man Brand New Day captured a mind-boggling record-setting $360 million in its domestic debut, officially ranking as the biggest debut in box office history.
And people wanted
Except
to
But that's
to
okay.
challenge me on this
After
shit.
landing above
Saying, but yeah, but what about the
Sunday's
Odyssey?
estimate of $55 million Brand New
And
Day
you
has
just you don't know what you're talking about with
outpaced the
Supergirl. You
all-time
just
benchmark of 2019's Avengers
like
Endgame
shut the
with
fuck up.
$357 million, not adjusted for inflation. That's important. Okay, that's important. Now, if we're just doing one-to-one comparisons, that's fine, but it's still huge. We do not want to take away from how big this is, because this is the follow-up to No Way Home. There is no Toby, there is no Andrew, and we have Tom Holland not only carrying a Spider-Man movie on his own without Iron Man or anything else, it's him really embodying the character at this point. Some may disagree. That's fine. Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Endgame are historic as the only two movies in history to cross 300 million in a single weekend. That puts those ticket sales in perspective. Those behemoths earned around 100 million more to start the third and fourth largest domestic openings, which belong to 2021's No Way Home, with 260 million and 600 million worldwide opening weekend. And 2018's Avengers Infinity War with 257 million, the top four biggest debuts in box office.
I remember I used to
history
confuse
belong
Top
to
Dog
Marvel
with Top
Studios.
Cat
Spider-Man
because
Brand
Top
New
Cat,
Day,
Top
Sony
Dog,
and Marvel's
and
fourth
but
comic
it
book
was
adventure
so I
starring
used to
Tom
confuse
Holland
Top
and
Dog
Peter
with Top
Parker
Cat,
launched
but then
a
also
truly heroic
I
932
confused him with
million
Heathcliff
globally.
because he had a personality similar
That's
to
amazing.
the Heathcliff
Oh shit, I just did it.
character,
I didn't mean to do it that
but
time.
his name sounded similar to Top Cat. So that was the confusion why it was always hard for me to remember that early comic book of mine,
3 days on the
since
big
it was
screen. It's
since
the second
the
biggest
comic book
worldwide
went out
debut
of
trailing
print
only
back in
Avengers
1987
Endgame with 1.2
because it was
billion.
a
That's a
it
big
was
one.
an imprint of Marvel,
Okay,
I
here's
think
Tom
called
Rothman.
Star Comics.
What's so funny
Star-
about this
yeah.
statement
Let
is
me
Tom
get this.
Rothman hates
I think it-
superhero movies. Wow, 360 million thank yous to all the filmmakers, actors, producers, and to my colleagues at Sony who created such a fantastic film and an exceptional.
But yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day broke records with its debut last week. Supergirl didn't, and people were mad that I said that. When I said Spider, there was people mad at me because I pointed out the fact that Spider-Man made more in its first day of release than Supergirl did in its entire run, where it only made 125 million. And that's globally, not domestically. It made 125 million globally, internationally. Domestically, Spider-Man made 168 million domestically on its first day, already beating Supergirl, and then internationally it made like 360 million on its first day. So people mad at me. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at your little stupid woke agenda shit that doesn't work for most Americans. And then people saying, but Supergirl wasn't woke, it was just a bad movie. Really? It was woke. They turned the character into this little feminist drunken bitch who's a PTSD survivor because of the destruction of Krypton. That wasn't her character in the comic books. She was never this angry, entitled feminist bitch in the comics, and she's been around since the 1950s. Even the book that she was based off of directly, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, written by Tom King, um, which the movie is loosely based on. She didn't have she wasn't this edgy sort of character. That was a James Gunn decision. So argue with me all you want. I'm still right. And again, at the end of the day, I can still beat your ass. So I don't give a fuck what you think. I can fight.
3 days on the big screen. It's the second biggest worldwide debut, trailing only Avengers Endgame with 1.2 billion. That's a big open. Okay, here's Tom Rothman. What's so funny about this statement is Tom Rothman hates superhero movies. Wow, 360 million thank yous to all the filmmakers, actors, producers, and to my colleagues at Sony who created such a fantastic film and an exceptional marketing and distribution campaign. Fucking spoken like a true. You made a great film and an exceptional marketing and distribution
it was Marvel Star
campaign
Comics.
For a product.
It was an imprint.
Chairman of Sony
Just
Pictures.
like DC used to have
Records
a
are
few
made to be
imprints like
broken, but we
Vertigo.
will take great
Then
pride in this one.
They took down the Vertigo imprint and then brought in those characters into the mainstream DC
That's
multiverse.
Great. Who did he miss in this thank you? Chat. Kind of a big thing. Who did he miss? The customer. Thank you very much. Where's your fucking thank you for all the people that went out and bought the fucking tickets? Dear friend who said pure capitalism. As much as
he did a crossover with Spider-Man.
Right? Big
Guest starring Spider-Man.
But
cool.
what's practiced today is not capitalism.
So again, those were my first two comics, Top Dog and Spider-Ham. I don't know why, but as a little kid, it probably appealed to me because I was like 5 or 6 years old.
And all the people
this is why when people wonder why they have these little young characters in these movies, is to appeal to kids. Because trust me, as someone who was once a little kid and got into these franchises that I still love 40 plus years later, having a character that a little kid can identify with is a strategic
yammering on about politics at award shows. They never go
tactic to latch on little kids into these franchises that will have them,
thanks to Tom Cruise.
Hardcore fans for years to come. Same thing with Star Wars with the Ewoks.
Right before the movie.
Older fans hated the Ewoks. Kids my age loved the Ewoks. I was 5 years old when I went to see Return of the Jedi. And so I still love it today, even though people who were already in their teens or 20s, when they went to go see Return of the Jedi, hated the Ewoks.
And they're Scarlett Johansson.
Premium cuts of meat without the premium prices. It's an older thing. And Doug.
I'm glad we could all play today.
They say tennis is great for remembering you can customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual.
Do they, Doug?
Well, I say it. Limu, ball me. Limu, ball me again? Again? My bad!
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Bibbidi bibbidi.
With apartments.com AI, it's easy to find the perfect place.
I'm mad I know
Show me
that.
pet-friendly places.
In a walkable neighborhood.
Close to the dog park.
That was easy. Now, where is dinner?
You literally just had lunch. Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
My name is Olga Kretsu. I live and I work in Brooklyn, New York as a special education teacher.
Is the biggest blockbuster actress of all time, because she's been in some big movies. Well, they started to, they're like, it's the best Tom Holland opening. It's also the best Zendaya opening. I was like, oh shit. Okay, stop. Nobody's coming to this fucking movie to see Zendaya. Nobody.
Facts.
Don't
Facts.
affix Zendaya
Facts.
to this movie.
Facts.
Okay.
Pure facts.
She's not even MJ. Now, to the film's credit, I hate the fact that they call her MJ, but it's Michelle Jones. Michelle Jones Watson. So she's not Mary Jane. But nobody is going to see Spider-Man for Zendaya. Yes, she's also the star of The Odyssey and Dune, Dune Part 3. People see it despite of Zendaya. Yeah. There it is. Thank you. It was the deadline. So far, this is the biggest opening for Zendaya.
It's not a Zendaya film.
Get the fuck up.
It's a Tom Holland film.
And John Bernthal, let me tell you something. And director Destin Daniel Cretton, outstripping his all-time Labor Day weekend opening with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, a movie that was such a box office juggernaut that they promised poor Simu Liu a sequel and then never gave it to him. They said, hey, little buddy, you can come in our movie where it's basically Battle of the Marvel Studios stars. You can co-star with.
See, people are like, why aren't you doing any topics?
And
it's been 21 minutes in.
As,
no one has came in for the topic, even though I already prepped this an hour, 2 hours prior.
And with the Odyssey,
no,
at the end of the end of the year,
I've already had this prep for 2 hours prior. People are like, you don't do any topics anymore.
The article will
because
be
people weren't showing up for the topics. And this person,
before the end of the year, we're gonna get Zendaya. Is the biggest actor in Hollywood right now. But I'm gonna keep watching comic book theme related videos.
Odyssey, if and until I get any discussion.
They're absolutely, yes. Zendaya is Hollywood, and I don't hate Zendaya. Okay, I think she's fine. I think she doesn't make a shithead of herself on the red carpet. She seems nice. It's nothing against her personally. Yes, you want to take the money in the jobs while you can, but if you want longevity, especially if you're young, you got to think about, what? It's an important thing to say no to some things and showing restraint. Thinking about the future, going, do I want to cash in on this now, or do I want to, maybe stay away from it and look at the big picture? So we'll see. But she's not like overexposed like Pedro. Pedro's just annoying.
Yes.
Everywhere. She's getting there though. Not annoying like Pedro, but
she's not annoying because she doesn't overtly talk about her political views.
They will be singing songs about and writing stories and oral traditions of Zendaya being the greatest actor in the history of Hollywood in her generational run, as the kids say. Do they still say it? I don't know. I don't care. In 2026, when she starred in Spider-Man Brand New Day, the greatest scowling face. That's right. So, yeah, I'm going to say
I can find the original comic for only $6.97.
I thought it really captured
That's
Spidey.
Crazy. Or I can get
it's got its
3 of them
problems.
for
I talked about it in the review for me.
Okay, so one person did try to sell it for $62.
Some of my friends are scoring it,
but clearly he's not getting that.
Much lower. I'm looking forward to that. It's all good. I am happy that yes, there is some Disney Marvel elements. Yelena's scene is a complete MCU scene, and then the as I mentioned in my video, the misunderstood, victimized female antagonist, which is a very Marvel thing. I think that was an easy fix, and they didn't do it at the end. You could have easily fixed that. It would have been a post-credit scene, a better post-credit scene than they had. And they could have fixed my issues with her murdering people. Yes, Jean Grey has lost it in the past. She becomes Dark Phoenix, for crap's sake. So if you're setting that up, and what I heard from my friend who worked on it is you're setting up the moral ambiguity of the X-Men, and you're doing it through Jean Grey, and you're showing how dangerous these you're establishing that humanity kind of has a point. And I'm not against this. They kind of have a point with like, oh shit, we have these things popping up, these people popping up who can become invisible. Yeah, it's a concern. It is, especially when you can, I don't know, mind rape people, which is what it was. So she had a guy walk in front of a car. But more importantly,
all right, let's skip some of this so we can avoid spoilers. I'm gonna skip because I don't agree with people spoiling a movie 3 days after it came out. Like, that's just fucking crazy. 4 days. Like, give it at least 2 weeks before you spoil the shit.
and superhero fatigue is dead. And as I said earlier, superhero fatigue, like everybody says,
So
is
skip
from too many
ahead.
bad
If
movies.
you heard some of
where
that,
things were
pretend you didn't hear.
mediocre, they'd
'cause
be
I am.
fine. Talk
Although
to
I
them
already
where we
knew that
can
that girl
have a
was going to
runaway
play
hit
Jean
that
Grey,
isn't
but
an aging
I
Hugh
don't want to hear what she
Jackman,
does in the
isn't a
movie
gimmick.
because it's going to ruin it
So,
for me. No spoilers for
We'll
me.
know they're healthy again when
And
you can
even if I did
introduce
see it
a, I
again,
don't
I would
know,
have still skipped
let's take
ahead
a character
for
like
people
Blade.
who might watch this
Blade,
on replay,
pretty simple
so they
character.
don't get this spoil for them either.
He kills vampires.
Because I disagree with
Pretty easy
YouTubers
premise.
who spoil movies
He kills vampires.
literally a
And
day,
you take that
2
and you
days,
just
3
have
days,
Blade
4 days after it came out.
Killing vampires.
Like you don't even give it
Make
a
it
full
rated R.
fucking week.
Bloody,
would say-
sexy,
I would say respectfully 2 weeks.
and he
Give
kills
it
vampires.
2 weeks.
And that does well.
Respectfully.
You know, and you
After
do a
2
Blade
weeks,
movie at what?
it's like, it's on you're on
Make
your
it a
own if you
$70
still want to
million
watch
budget.
something based about
And
the
it,
movie
goes
2
out and
weeks
makes
after it
400
came out
million
and
at the box
expect there
office.
not to be some
That's
spoilers.
great. That's what you need
But
to do.
the day
And I
after,
still
like
think
literally
there's
the day
the
after,
energy and enthusiasm
everyone
for that.
will be
The
on
problem
YouTube
is that once these
giving a review.
studios, they're like
Some
the
will give
government.
non-spoiler
Once they start
reviews and others will give
spending a bunch
spoiler
of money
reviews.
on their movies,
To me, a
they can't
non-spoiler review still is a
backtrack it.
partial
So,
spoiler
as you
because
know,
how are you going to review it
with the
without
government, the
spoiling it?
reason spending goes nuts is
Because you're
because
still
you
letting
have
people
your
know about the movie,
allotted
even if you're not
budget
telling
to
them
departments,
details,
whatever
specific
fucking
details
department it is.
about
Some
the movie.
useless fucking department that could be closed.
It's still
And if they
spoilery,
go
even if it's a
under that
non-spoiler
budget, they
review.
will get less money. So they always make sure to get to that budget however
It's just,
possible.
like,
That's the
it's
same
not as
thing.
bad
You
as Sheldon
get less
Cooper saying,
money.
"Don't tell me
Hollywood
that
does
my
not like
mind's going to be blown
contraction,
by reading this
and
comic."
that's
He
what
said,
it
"Now
needs.
I'm
It
going
needs to
into it
get smaller,
pre-mind
smarter,
blown."
leaner.
It's not that bad like Sheldon
Unions
Cooper.
don't
We're
want
not
leaner.
talking that bad. Like I'm not being
Unions
that
do
bad
not
like
want
Sheldon
leaner and
Cooper.
meaner. And
All I'm saying
honestly,
is
not even
a
big
review of a
corporations
movie
either.
is still
So that's
gonna
that's
be
gonna be a big problem
quasi-spoil-
going ahead,
a
'cause they need to
quasi-spoiler
just make cheaper superhero movies and
because
maybe
you're still letting
ground them a
people
little bit
know
and not have everybody
how-
fighting a giant beam of light in
whether
the
it's
sky.
good, bad,
Or a
and the reasons
misunderstood
why it's good or bad or
Victimized
mixed.
female antagonist, like have them fighting an evil bad guy.
That
Now,
is
credit,
a
I said it in my
spoiler
video, credit,
in some
black guy's
respects,
bad guy
even if
again.
it's not a
That's
full-on
good.
spoiler by giving
Let's
like
have some
specific
women
details.
taking accountability. I think that would be a good logical next step, don't you? But we'll
And
see
then it
what
gets
Ghost Rider-
subjective over what people think is non-spoiler
even
and spoiler.
Spider-Man, they had to throw in Hulk and Punisher. Hulk's not in it very much.
So again, we're gonna skip because he's spoiling shit again,
Yelena fight.
and we're gonna skip that about Yelena.
They can adapt all day long. DC can adapt one-offs that just they're singular stories. We're not even starting a franchise.
And so another reason, another problem with Supergirl, aside from it was woke, aside from the movie was just patently poorly made, the third reason it didn't do well is because she's not a major character in the DC pantheon of heroes. At best, she's a second stringer, and I'm not talking from a person who dislikes Supergirl. I actually like the character. She was a badass. If for folks who ever read, the DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths. It came out in 1985. That is one of the best. It was like the first like mega like crossover of comic books, and so Marvel then went to repeat that with Secret Wars. Just now with their new thing is going to be the Doomsday and Secret Wars. So much so they did it twice. There was a Secret Wars in the 80s, which was based off of a toy line that they made. And then there was another Secret Wars that came out in the 2010s. And so the movie they're going to do is going to be a blending of both the original Secret Wars in the 80s and the Secret Wars that came out in the 2010s. I'm not going to watch this one discussing Spider-Man Brand New Day because all of that's going to be spoilers. Literally all of that's going to be spoilers. So we can just skip that one and go to something else. I'm going to watch this nerd science video on could Batman dismantle the Al Capone's mafia? That's interesting.
It's sweet.
You know, Batman is my
Vanilla.
favorite. Currently
And it
is
reminds me of
and
every
always will be
dinner
my
that I've
favorite
had with my
superhero.
mother-in-law. We always end it with multiple desserts.
I'm thinking coconuts
Like, I
because
didn't
we
have a
usually
favorite
do family
superhero when
trips
I
at
was a
nighttime
kid.
and grab coconuts by the water.
I liked Superman. I liked Batman.
It's warm.
I liked Robin.
Sort of like the feeling you get when you want to give somebody a
I
hug.
liked Spider-Man. And then out of them again grew my favorite heroes,
Chicago,
Batman and Spider-Man.
1929. Rain
Wolverine.
hammers Michigan Avenue. Batman is crouched on a Lexington
And I saw him
hotel
on
watching
X-Men.
200 men move through the dark below him. No metahumans, no supervillains, nobody he can negotiate with from a rooftop. Just Al Capone, the most
And my favorite
powerful
superhero
criminal
teams
in American
with Justice
history,
League
and
because
an
of Super
army
Friends.
that kills
And
people
then
for a living. He's
the
carrying
X-Men
his usual
because of
belt,
Spider-Man.
plus
And
one
then later
piece
the
of
X-Men
gear
animated
he
series.
packed and almost left behind. A rebreather. Keep an eye on that. The question isn't whether
Although I like the
Batman's
Avengers a
tough
lot
enough,
too,
it's
especially the
whether
MCU
one man
Avengers.
with a no-kill rule
I think
can
like many
survive
others,
a
it
war
was the
where the other
MCU
side has no
that
rules
made me
at
really
all.
love
This
the
is Mike.
Avengers
We're
as
back
a
for
team.
another awesome video for Nerd Science. Leave your like, subscribe, and let's roll it. We're rating every encounter on a tier of survival scale. S means Capone never knew what hit him. F means Batman doesn't walk out. Chapter 1. Infiltrating the Lexington Hotel. The Lexington isn't really a hotel anymore. 10 stories of brick and terracotta at the corner of 22nd and Michigan Avenue. 300 rooms. And somewhere on the 4th and 5th floors is the office of the most dangerous man in America. He throws parties up there for senators. He pays off judges from the same desk where he eats breakfast. Men him disappeared from inside this building, and the staff knew better than to ask questions. By 1929, the Lexington is a fortress that looks like a hotel, which is actually worse. Batman doesn't go through the front door. He fires a grapnel from the roof of the building across the street and glides in low at the 4th floor.
Get low,
Through a
get low,
window
get low,
cracked.
get low.
No cameras in
low.
1929. No motion
Get low.
sensors. Just 30 armed Italian bodyguards posted across the building.
That's
and
light
the
work for
hotel
Batman.
staff
That's
trained
light
to
work.
notice anything that feels slightly
Especially because
off.
he didn't give.
The
He's not
door
using
that
the.
should be closed. A sound that doesn't fit.
So
A
Nerd Science been a little bit inconsistent. So they're using the modern Batman to take out Al Capone's mafia, but in a previous video they did Batman during World War II, and they used it was I think it was World War I or World War II, and they basically used the Golden Age version of Batman. I'm like, why using the? And I was that ruined the video for me. I'm like, why using the Golden Age era of Batman to go against? I get it, it's in the same time slot. Golden Age of the Golden Age Batman, which appeared in 1939 with World War II. But if you're going to do that, then why using modern the modern day Batman against Al Capone in 1929? I guess the argument you could say is because there wasn't a Batman in 1929. Okay, I could get with that if that's the rationale. However, I still think if you're gonna take if you're gonna mix, a superhero into an actual historical event, then why not just use the modern day version of that character in the historical period? Other than the fact that they just wanted to, they wanted to use a less, other than the obvious, which was for the other video when they used the Golden Age Batman in World War, fighting against the Nazis in World War II. They just wanted a weaker version of Batman. That's pretty much what it was. They wanted a weaker version of Batman. there's no other way to see why else they did that.
Shadow that moves when there's no wind. That's the first edge. The Arkham games treat Batman like a one-man surveillance state. Detective mode, predator takedowns, a HUD that does half the thinking. Strip that tech and what's left is what O'Neill and Adams comics of the early 1970s actually wrote. A detective who reads rooms. That's the version that has a chance tonight. Detective mode still paints the corridor in thermal orange because the suit travels with him. Two men in the room to his left.
Wait, what?
That tech and what's left is what O'Neill. One-man surveillance state. Detective mode, predator takedowns, a HUD that does half the thinking. Strip that tech and what's left is what O'Neill and Adams comics of the early 1970s actually wrote. A detective who reads rooms. That's the version that has a chance tonight. Detective mode still paints the corridor in thermal
So they
orange
saying they're using the
because
19
the suit travels
Okay,
with
so it's not like now they're saying they're using the 1970s era of Batman, the Dennis O'Neill and Neil Adams Batman. By the way, I have something signed by Neil Adams, image of Batman I keep on my wall, signed by Neil Adams a few years before he passed away. Now I'm glad I did because I had no idea that the guy was going to pass away. He looked perfectly healthy when I met him. I mean, I realized he was like in his 60s. No, he's probably older than that because yeah, he was right. He was writing comics in the 70s, so he was older than what he looked. And this was back in 2017, 2018. No, no, it was. I think it was 2016. It was yeah, I think it was 2016 in which I got that. Which was 10 years ago now. And he was at least in his 70s back then. So yeah, it was still a shame that he passed away. He was a he was actually a bit of a hero in the comic book community, but I won't get into that right now. Other than he helped out the creators of Superman, um, to restore their rights, back to the character, and he gave us a more grounded, gritty version of Batman after coming out the campiness of the Silver Age of comic books, which is the most funny enough, the Silver Age of comic books is the most beloved era of comics for a lot of fans, even a lot of people who never lived in that era. But the boomers, the, the Silver Age of comics is most beloved by the boomer generation because that's the era they grew up on, and being that they're the largest generation in America, like they have a outsized influence on pop culture. Um, and we saw this back in 2025 with both DC films and Marvel, um, studios. Yeah, with both DC Studio and Marvel Studio trying to pivot away from a lot of the films that weren't being successful. Uh, they turned to like Silver Age versions of their characters. So they did a Superman was large in 2025 was largely a, a nod to the Silver Age era, as was the Fantastic Four. First Steps was a nod to the Silver Age era. So even though the Fantastic Four kind of sparked the Marvel realism or Bronze Age. Well, I guess they were. Yeah, they were kind of the Bronze Age, but never mind that. Like it was harkening to a more wholesome era of comic books, more campy and sci-fi, less dark and cynical than the modern age of comics.
with him. Two men in the room to his left. Three more at the stairwell, leaning on each other, bored. And one man
See, I can talk
up.
about this stuff because I actually read comics other than instead of just watching the films. I hate people who only watch the films and think they're an expert on this shit.
Alone at a window at the far end of the hall who keeps checking his watch like he's waiting on a phone call. That last one is the problem. The bored ones are predictable. The waiting ones are not. He takes the corridor patrol down one at a time, silent, fast. Zip ties, 4 seconds between each drop. It's not elegant, it's math, and the math barely works. Capone's office on the 4th floor is unlocked, which tells him everything. The boss doesn't lock a door nobody gets to without already entrusted. Inside, ledgers, stacks of cash, and a handwritten list of every Chicago police officer on the outfit's payroll. Not just names, dollar amounts, dates, which judges.
I'm gonna rewind this a bit. People forget that Superman is the world's greatest detective. Although in DC Comics, sometimes there's acknowledged that there's the best detective is the chimp. What's his name? The chimp detective. He's an actual chimpanzee. He's an anthropomorphic chimpanzee who's very smart and considered the greatest detective. But he's rarely acknowledged in. He's rarely acknowledged in like the mainstream comic books. He's usually like in like the little in like the more campy stuff for kids or whatever. But technically, he's supposed to be better than Batman. But most unless you're a hardcore DC Comics fan, most people don't even know about the Chimp Detective.
Sitting alone at a window at the far end of the hall who keeps checking his watch like he's waiting on a phone call. That last one is the problem. The bored ones are predictable. The waiting ones are not. He takes the corridor
sorry, not
patrol
Chimp
down
Detective.
one
Detective
at a
Chimp.
time,
It's Detective
silent,
Chimp.
Fast. Zip ties. 4 seconds
That's my
between each
mea
drop.
culpa.
It's not elegant. It's math, and the math barely works. Capone's office on the 4th floor is unlocked, which tells him everything. The boss doesn't lock a door nobody gets
Just like
to
there's a character in
without
Marvel
already
that's
being
smarter
trusted.
than
Inside, ledgers,
Mr. Fantastic,
stacks
but
of
she's not.
cash, and
She's
a
just a
handwritten
character
list of
designed for
every
kids.
Chicago
So
police officer on the outfit's
people don't really take
payroll.
that seriously
Not
because
just
she's smarter
names,
than
dollar
Mr.
amounts,
Fantastic.
dates, which judges countersigned which payments. It's not
And she
evidence
rides a
of corruption.
dinosaur.
It's a complete
This little
map
black girl
of it.
that rides a
And
dinosaur.
mounted on the
It's
wall above the desk in matching frames are portraits of George Washington and Mayor William Hale Thompson, the father of the country and the mayor on Capone's leash, hung side by side. Batman photographs both. 45 seconds, and he's moving back toward the window, and that's when the man at the end of the hall stands up and reaches for the phone on the wall. He doesn't see Batman's face. He sees a shape that doesn't belong. And in Capone's world, a shape is more than enough. The call goes out before Batman clears the ledge. He's already on the grapnel line when the shouting starts below. He gets out. The photographs are in his belt, but the hotel is buzzing now. Coats, cars, men spilling into the street. Batman drops into the alley below, knowing the city just got a lot more dangerous. Survival tier B. Not everything he came for, but the Lexington already knows something came through. And in about 4 minutes, so will the rest of the outfit. Chapter 2. The Thompson submachine gun.
That was freezing. My apologies. I'm gonna drink water. Drink water. Trying to kill.
Problem. 2 blocks from the Lexington, and the Cadillacs come around the corner like they were already there, just waiting for a reason. 3 of them black.
Like a commenter just said, Al Capone is a slow Tuesday for Batman.
They already
exactly.
have it. Slow down with
Please.
me here, because
He's dealt with
this
way
is the
more
weapon that
dangerous
earned its nickname.
gangsters.
The Thompson M1928 fires 45 ACP.
I mean, in the real world,
around
yes, Al Capone
700
was
rounds
deadly, but
per
in the
minute,
DC
fed
universe,
from a 50-round drum. effective out to 50
No.
yards. They
In the DC
called it
universe,
the
no,
Chicago
he's dealt with way
typewriter because of the
scarier
noise. They
gangsters and
called it
criminals.
the trench broom because of what it did to a section
Bane
of street. It wasn't designed for precision. It was
Two-Face
designed to make
Bane.
a section of street uninhabitable enough until nothing's left standing on it. Batman moves before the first burst finishes leaving the barrel. He drops flat and rolls left as the rounds tear through the parked truck where his torso was a half second ago, chewing through metal like it isn't there. He comes up behind the wheel and takes stock. 3 cars, 2 shooters per car, 1 man on a phone in the rear vehicle, already calling it in. Smoke pellets go first, not to hide in, but to push the
What time is
angles,
it?
make the shooters on the left
late.
lean out further to find him, which pulls them off their mounts and
Since I'm
kills
not
their
getting
accuracy. He sends a concussion
any
batarang, skipping
conversation
under
after
the
this,
lead
I'm
car's
gonna
engine
end this, I
block.
think.
The blast doesn't destroy it. It lifts the
If I
front
get some
end sideways,
conversation, I'll
drops it
keep this
across
going
the
a little
lane,
longer.
and the second car hits it at speed before the
So,
driver can react. Metal on metal. Both cars
Where's my
locked
coaster?
up
I
in the
just saw
middle
my-
of Chicago
Oh.
Avenue. He's
Landed on
already
my lap.
moving on the third. The suit stops the rounds. That part works. Here's where the adaptations cheat, though. The Pattison and Affleck suits get
By the way,
drawn
guys, you
as
wanna see my new
basically
weapon?
bulletproof. Frank Miller's
For home-
Year
this
One
is for home
Batman
defense.
wore cloth and a
Strictly.
thin vest and
Tactical
bulletproof
tomahawk.
both. The honest read is closer
Nice,
to Miller.
right?
Kevlar ceramic
It has some
composite
heft
will
to
stop
it,
a 45 slug at close
at the head,
range,
but it's
but
very
stopping it
this
in
is
the
great
seam
as a
is
home
not
defense
feeling
weapon,
it.
particularly if
Every
you live in a
impact
place
transfers
where
force into the body behind
say
it.
you don't
By the
want
time
to
Batman
you don't want a
pulls the driver
firearm.
out of the third car, he's absorbed enough hits to the torso.
You don't want a firearm, or you do own a firearm, but you are afraid that living in a townhome or an apartment, as this is a townhome, that your your rounds will penetrate into the walls. Although you can buy specific ammunition that's less penetrating. Pause. But aside from that, like I said, if you're just squeamish about a firearm, or you're worried that a firearm would be too penetrating because you live in an apartment or a townhome, this is a good alternative. A tactical tomahawk. You can also buy, either a kukri blade or a machete. I think a machete would be the worst of the worst of them, because a machete needs more space to swing. This doesn't need very much room to be effective, and the great thing is it can be held in one hand. You can swing it with both hands, of course, to drive the most force. But when it comes to a home defense weapon, you want something that ideally can be held in one hand, which is why a handgun is often better than, I think, an AR-15. AR-15s do make great home defense weapons, don't get me wrong. However, they're not as useful in hallways and bedrooms and small corridors. A compact size handgun is. And again, something like this, a tactical tomahawk. Also, not only can this be used as a weapon, it can also be used as a breaching tool. Like, say if your house is on fire, you need to break through a door. This comes in handy. And you can use it as part of your bug out bag preparation as well. Like, if you're heading out, if you're bugging out, probably want to take this with you so you can, clear, like, you can chop things down with it. Again, you can use it as a breaching tool, and it comes in handy as a weapon. And it just so happens that, Army Rangers and Navy SEALs love using this as well. I love the Army Rangers. I wish I had the balls to have tried out for RASP, or that's Ranger. It's basically the Ranger selection process. assessment and selection process. Um, or if I didn't do RASP, um, I could have just tried out for Ranger School, which anyone can go to in the Army, um, because it's a leadership school, and it will automatically, especially for people who are career Army, and there's some people who come in from other branches of the military as well. They might do Ranger School, but sticking with the Army, um, uh, completing Ranger School puts you on a pathway towards um, being a higher enlisted, or even if you're a commissioned officer, they have a different they they go through it as well with the enlisted, uh, and it puts them on a trajectory towards promotion as well. And it is really great for, like, say if you're E3 or E4 in the Army. E3 would be a private first class, right? E4 would be um, either a corporal or a specialist, although they've been kind of doing away with the corporal, and mostly just using specialists, because a corporal is an NCO, even though he's only an E4. But for an E3 or E4 to go through Ranger School, it immediately put them in the pathway of becoming a senior NCO, E5, E6 and above. Um, and it looks good on your it, it looks good on your DD 214. Like I said, when you're looking at promotions and stuff like that, people will see, oh, you went to Ranger School. Well, they're going to see it because it's going to be on your uniform. um, but when it's in, you know. But anyway, my point is, I love the Rangers in the Army, and I think if I had stayed in longer, I wish I would have at least tried out for Ranger School or RASP. Now, when it comes to joining RASP, I mean, when it comes to doing RASP, to become part of the 75th Regiment Rangers, they don't take everyone. Like I said, anyone in the Army can do Ranger School because it's a leadership school, but and then at some point the 75th Rangers have to go through it themselves as well. But to qualify to be a 75th Ranger, there's certain requirements. Um, you need to have at least qualify for top secret for a top secret, not top secret, sorry, for a secret level security clearance, which I did have because of my MOS. Okay. Um, which was I did like cable and telephone wiring systems. What they call those cable dogs. Cable dogs have to have a security clearance because we deal with some levels of signal intelligence. Uh, and so I would have cleared that. You have to physically be able to undergo assessment and selection. Again, check. Um, um, but also you have your not every MOS qualified for 75th Ranger, because the thing is, when you become, unlike other areas of special operations in the Army, when you join the 75th Rangers, that's not your MOS. Like, you don't change. Like with any other special ops, like say the Green Berets or um, some of the other special ops in the Army, when you join those special operation units, that becomes your MOS. With the Rangers, that doesn't become your MOS, which means if you fail to maintain Ranger standards, they'll simply kick you back into Big Army, into your previous MOS. So, say if you were a cook, that's still your MOS as a ranger. It's just that now, uh, you do the operate. You are now a ranger, a 75th ranger, which means you are they're basically special. They're a specialized light infantry. But again, that's not a MOS classification. So if you somehow fail to maintain the standards of a ranger, because even though you go through assessment and selection for the rangers, you are always in the process of being assessed to be a ranger. So if you fall underneath those, if you fall underneath those standards, you'll be kicked back into Big Army to whatever your previous uh, MOS was. So that's why they only take certain people from some MOSs that are needed within the larger Ranger regiment, the Ranger battalion, rather. So I actually found out that my MOS would have qualified for assessment and selection and into the Ranger battalion. So that's why again I was like, damn, I should have really done that. Or there was another special operations that I wish I had went into, which would have been an actual MOS, which was psyops. That would have fit me perfectly, having a background in psychology and cognitive science generally. Um, and they did a lot of stuff that I would have been into, and they had a unit that was local here in up to me in Maryland and Upper Marlboro, so that would have been great. So either, and I could have done both. I could have done. Actually, I don't know about that. I don't know from psyops. I could have tried out for RASP. Probably. But even if I didn't, I know being already in psyops, they would have approved my paperwork to do the ranger school. That at least I could have done. And you can still call yourself a ranger. Well, you can call it well. I would say you can call yourself ranger qualified if you go to ranger school. You're not a ranger. You're not a ranger unless you are a part of the ranger battalion. But you can call yourself ranger qualified if you made it through ranger school, because at some point even the 75th rangers have to go through ranger school um, to reach higher enlistment. Like they want to go E6 and above. Like, yeah, you're gonna go through RASP at some point. I mean, sorry, through ranger school. Anyway, back to the comics and Batman. This is always about Batman. But how cool is this
What
tactical
makes Blue
tomahawk?
Bunny bunny tracks so
This
delicious?
part you can rip
Expertise.
too. So
Blue Bunny has been crafting
and it's
quality
good.
treats
This
for
is good
families
for
across
small
America since
small
1935.
small rooms
Proudly
and
established in
hallways.
the Mars
You don't need a
Island.
lot of room to swing this. You can just crack, crack. Joey crack. Because
Bring over 3,000 Chinese
you don't need to go all the way back and rip it like you have to do with a kukri or a machete. A kukri and machete needs more room to swing. Although the good thing about the kukri is very the way it's used is very
torso that
natural.
breathing has
There's
become
nothing
a
you don't really have to
deliberate
train
act.
for
Two
kukri.
rips,
You
almost
just swing
certainly
it and it
nothing
just
punctual.
naturally
The kind of structural
works.
pain
This
that
you gotta
strips
give a
the
little
world
more
down
thought
to
to,
the next
but it
10
doesn't need
seconds
specific
and
training with this
nothing
either.
else. 5 men
And it doesn't need a lot of
zip-tied
room
in
to
the
swing
rain.
to
The
be
sixth
effective.
already had
And you
his
can work
call
with one
live
hand,
before Batman
or
reached
you
him.
can bat
This
down with
is
two
the part
hands
the
and really
matchup
throw
actually
some
turns on,
force
and
into it.
almost no Batman
Great home
writer
defense weapon.
engages with it honestly. The no-kill rule
Jason
doesn't
Hansen
just
sells this
change
on
the
his
ethics of a fight. It
spy and
changes the
briefing
geometry
store as
in
well.
a straight gun
Shout out to
fight,
Jason
and
Hansen,
the
former
threat
CIA
and
officer.
everything
You can buy
after
one of
is
these from him.
clean. Batman has to win without finishing it. Every engagement runs longer.
And I keep my tactical flashlight too, so good thing since I can have these in one hand, I can have this flashing on one hand and bat with this, so I can be like, what's that? Oh crap, okay. What?
just
Crack.
sits there,
Yeah, I
back
hit you with this
against
too.
the brick,
Crack.
listening
Crack.
to his lungs figure out the new
Joey.
normal. Nothing
Crack.
rattling,
Stop.
nothing wet. He keeps
There you go.
moving. Down at the Lexington,
I love my
Frank
gadgets.
Nitti gets the report and tells Capone
I love
it's a
stuff that
rival
can rip a-
gang making a move. His
Rip
reasoning is
a
sound.
ninja apart.
Nobody walks through 3 Thompsons
You know what I mean by
alone,
ninja.
so whatever tore through those 6 men had to be a team. Capone agrees. Batman pulls the driver out of the 3rd car. He's
Anyway, guys, listen. All right, it's an hour in. No one showed up, although someone gave me a thumbs up. So shout out to whoever that was. I'm gonna end this here, and I'm gonna just watch this on my own. But you guys can go to Nerd Science and watch this.
absorbed enough hits to
This could Batman Dismantled 1929, Al Capone's Mafia. It just came out 14 hours ago, so it's a fresh video today. Subscribe to Nerd Science. Great stuff for like comic book geeks like myself who actually read comics, unlike most people who go to superhero films and never read comics, and then they want to lecture people who actually read the comics when they make fun of movies that flop because filmmakers want to put their own agendas into these films, like making a Supergirl film and make the character completely unlike her character in the comic books. And then you use her to start a new cinematic universe for DC instead of bringing out the 3 main heroes, which is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They started off well with Superman. The movie didn't do that well, unfortunately, but at least they knew to bring out the heavy hitters first. Like if your heavy hitters don't do well in the movies, why would you think the second or third stringers are going to do any better? They're not. Batman should have been next, but because of the Matt Reeves Elseworlds version of Batman, when I say Elseworlds is like an alternative reality in DC Comics. It started with the Batman by Gaslight comic book, also a great comic book. Read that, or you can watch the animated film version of it, which is also good. It's basically like Batman in the Victorian era if he had to go after like Jack the Ripper. It's really nice. And it started the whole Elseworlds thing, just like for Marvel, their version of alternative reality is the What If comics. And they did that. They did an animated version of What If on Disney Plus, and it was the first season was good, but the 2 following seasons were just trash. It might have been 3 seasons, but they were trash. I watched them; they were trash. So Marvel has What If, DC has Elseworlds, and so the current Matt Reeves Batman is not part of the main canon, neither for the DCEU, the former cinematic universe for DC films, nor the current cinematic universe for DC films, which is the DCU, DC Cinematic Universe, as like to compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. James Gunn decided to come out with Creature Commandos, which is it didn't do well. Peacemaker was okay. It was first under the DCEU, and then the second season was part of the DCU, and he did that by just changing a few elements of the last episode from the first season to make it part of the DCU. Which also made the Suicide Squad sequel also part of the DCU retroactively. But anyway, so Superman didn't, I won't say it outright flopped, it just underperformed. Supergirl flopped. Supergirl unwaveringly flopped. Superman just underperformed, although you can say it flopped, but not really. Creature Commandos, barely anyone watched it. Peacemaker season 2, barely anyone watched it, and the people who did watch it, it was mixed reviews at best. So you got the man having orgies with other men, and you have James Gunn's actual wife getting doing love scenes with other men. Crazy. Uh, uh, and then so Matt Reeves' movie sequel, The Batman 2, has been pushed back, but and there's current conjecture that it was being pushed back because James Gunn may not be any longer part of running the DC studios after the merger by Skydance Paramount is completed next year. That arguably James Gunn may either leave or be fired. I don't think he'll be fired. I've said this before. I think either he will. I think what might happen is they may no longer. They might want to start exercising more corporate control over the direction of DC Studios, forcing him to quit, or he might just quit on his own accord because Skydance Paramount uh, owners are friends of Trump, and he's a big lefty. So, in any case, it's looking like Man of Tomorrow may be his last film, but again, because Matt Reeves' The Batman is coming out, he didn't want to confuse people with having a Batman in the DCU and the Elseworlds Batman with Matt Reeves, the Batman too. Um, so that was his excuse for not doing Batman. But then there's Wonder Woman. But then there's also Green. Uh, some of the other first stringers besides the the hero triumvirate of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman is Green Lantern is arguably a first stringer. Aquaman is, especially after the success of the early films. Um, and the Flash. Those are all first string DC superheroes. All of those would have made more sense before doing a Supergirl film. Supergirl should have came out in the second phase of their cinematic universe once they established all the first line heroes. But to have her own movie following Superman, that didn't make sense because she's never been that big of a superhero, even in the comic books. Even though I like the character, she's never been a heavy hitter. And if you were going to introduce her, instead of introducing her through Tom King's Man of Tomorrow, which is not a widely read or well received graphic novel, although I like Tom King, he seems like a nice guy. And I think he's a former CIA officer or something like that. Anyway, instead of using that, they could have used the version of Supergirl who joined the Legion of Superheroes in the far future. That would have been way more interesting and set her apart from her cousin Superman. That made her seem less of a derivative character by showing her joining the Legion of Superheroes. That would have been way more interesting than this Woman of Tomorrow bullshit. But anyway, that's it. That's my rant. Peace.